build?
No, what I mean is like it always takes like 10 to 15 seconds to show up on
Oh,
Facebook. Always has a delay.
okay.
And then for some reason, like the way my brain works is like in that 10 to 15 seconds, I have like a huge stress out. Like I can feel my body freaking out. And then like in 10 to 15 seconds, it's like, okay, it's working.
We all have those emotions, man.
Yeah. And then like there's an email sent out going in like 15 minutes. So there's probably going to be like a good solid chunk of people watching this. Hopefully, I mean, we're live now. And the basic idea is that like for people in this group, they're really like looking to figure out how to scale their agency. And whether that's Facebook or website or SEO, like the purpose is like to scale. And so like we're doing this interview, which is pretty cool. So we're live now, which is like, I'm super happy now. And there's a bunch of people like saying stuff. So give us a thumbs up, a high five, a heart, a comment, just to make sure the audio is working, the video is working. If there's like way too much delay and things like that, if we're all pixelated and gross and all that fun stuff. But I'm psyched to have like Darryl on the stream today. Jesse says, get me to 5K. Exactly. That's why we're talking about. But I'm super psyched to have Darryl Stevens on the stream today. Darryl's based out of Austin, Texas, and has successfully turned, I guess you want to say like a hobby into like not just a full-time job, but a job that's hiring people, employing people, and then you're selling it as well. And so we can like kind of go into that like as we like, you know, maneuver our way through it. But maybe you can just give us like the quick 2-minute rundown of you, your background, your life story, all that fun stuff.
The quick 2-minute rundown is an absolutely fucking incredible story. So, I mean, that's probably going to come up a little bit further in the interview, but essentially 8 years ago, I was an IV heroin addict, meaning that I had absolutely no hope, purpose, understanding of why I'm even alive, and pretty much near death. And I got sober, and about a year into that, it's a really fun story. Like I wasn't even planning on starting a web design agency. I've been naturally good with computers since I was a child, you know, building computers at 14 and, you know, all these different things. But I wasn't even planning on starting a web design agency, but I was working in a company making like barely enough money to pay my bills. I mean, it was literally like 28,000 bucks a year. And we looked at their website, and they were actually a Taiwanese company, and everything was misspelled and the grammar was wrong. And I mean, I'm like, guys, you guys have to get a new website. And they allowed me to teach myself web design while getting paid, you know, hourly on the clock. And then that kind of, I started hearing the little whispers in my head, like, you know, you could start your own business. You could do this, you could do that. And so that's when I jumped off and I made the plunge, which was emotionally very scary, right? So you're leaving any sort of security blanket you have and then taking a plunge into something full time. So there's an emotional aspect to going through a transition in your life like that. But it's really fascinating because I know so many people have created agencies, right? There's no shortage of agencies in the world. But I've never met anybody who had no clue of what they were doing when they started. And within the first year of business, brought in $180,000 from making $28,000 the year before. So there are definitely some there's some good fortune in that, but there's also some talents and some strategy that I pulled on by asking some wise people how to do it.
So you mentioned that like you started dabbling in websites. So like, did you start like going into the CSS and HTML, like seeing what works and what doesn't? Did you start messing around with WordPress? Did you like buy books? Like what was that first tier where you're like, I can see that there's an opportunity, and when did you like start to get comfortable with it to where you said maybe I can turn this into a business?
Absolutely. So I am not a designer and I'm not a developer. I'm essentially a business guy, but I have an incredible creative eye, right? To be able to see like this looks good, this doesn't, this needs to flow, this needs to change. But when I first started the company, I mean, when I say that, I'm literally not joking. Like I'm not one of the guys. I mean, I know a lot of agency owners that, you know, have a, you know, master's degree and they started a new agency with like 3 other partners, the CTO, the COO, whatever, right? And they all joined together and created a huge mega agency, right? And that wasn't me. I was like the drug addict bum who came off the streets, like not literally, but you know, like and made shit happen. But you know what I did that's really unique is I taught myself everything, right? So you're going to find a lot of people that are really talented in this industry. They're self-taught. And so what I did is like, I, from a friend, learned about WordPress themes, and I had never even heard of it. So I started purchasing WordPress themes, got a server, would load them up, and I would go into the CSS, into the HTML, start tweaking it, you know, but I was not a coder. I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, it would take me like an hour, 2 hours to get like a footer centered, you know? Like, so, but after 3 months of doing that and selling enough deals to where, you know, I would produce, I'm not proud of those websites now, right? But like after like 3 months of doing that, I got to the place where I was able to hire a full-time designer / developer hybrid, what I call unicorns, in India, which, I mean, looking back now, like he sucks, right? But like at the time, he worked with me for about 4 years, and we created a lot of things together. So then I became, you know, didn't have to get into the weeds on the actual designer development at that point.
That's super interesting. For people watching this, just tuning in, Darryl is going over like his journey from going zero to like working at bare minimum wage, like recovering from like a drug addiction, and then ultimately like 5 years later selling his company for $1 million. And the first year he made 180K. But before we go into that, like, what was that like for people like I mean, there's a lot of people wanting to start an agency. What were your first 4 or 5 website sales and deals like? Were they like friends of friends, family, neighbor, referral network? How did you get the first confidence?
Yeah, so I mean, you're going to have to start off low, and that's just the nature of the business, because you're going to have to build a portfolio. So much in the agency world is based upon your portfolio, right? And so people want to see what is the past work that you've done. So you have to kind of start off a bit lower priced until you can build a solid portfolio where people have enough trust in you to give you a 10x fee, right? So, and that's just literally, that's just part of the process. Like, so for me, my very first sale was actually a meetup group. So a friend of mine invited me to a meetup group, and honestly, like, I think remembering back, this was for like holistic healthcare practitioners or something. But it was like about SEO. Right. But it was about SEO.
Yeah.
So that actually led to my first sale, which was a random stranger who owned a drink called like Never Hungover, like a little supplement drink. And I created that project for him, and, you know, figured it out and made it happen. And then it kind of just steamrolled from that. You know, one of the big things for me was SEO. So I taught myself SEO back in the golden era, about 6-7 years ago, when you could get somebody ranked by just cranking out 20,000 backlinks and, you know, a comment link somewhere else, maybe on page 1.
Or the website directory or something like that. Like if you just got on a directory, move all the way up or something. I remember that.
I mean, I could get somebody ranked on page 1 of Google for a highly competitive keyword in like literally just a couple months, and they're there.
Well, it was like a panda or something like that. One of those big changes. Or
Penguin, like, panda. Yeah, they really screwed a lot of people over. But thank God for disavow. So we had to go in and disavow quite a few links to take those bad links off. But we were actually able to maintain our search engine rankings, and I've maintained those for the last, 6 years. And so we're between number 1 and number 3 for Austin web design, Austin web developers, and about 100 other keywords in that genre. So that's provided me a really steady stream of just inbound leads. So one of the things that's interesting about us as an agency, I mean, just to let you guys know too, I'm about 30 days away from the closing table. So the agency's selling for 1.35 million cash, and all the due diligence has been done. So I'm about to exit the brand, right? Yep. But we're not just quite there yet. So give me about 30 days on that one.
So cool. So you dabbled with the website, got your first couple deals with website sales. And one of the biggest, like, I call it like the trench. So like you find like 3 or 4 things that you're good at, and then you get stuck filling orders, right? Like you're not really going to business, you're running it. So like you kind of like managed a way to like get out of that chunk. Like everybody falls into that, like that chasm. And specifically one of these bullet points was pretty cool. Is like how you doubled your fees and made 3 times as much money without losing a job or client or prospect. So is there like for somebody watching this, can you like talk about that, how they can like charge more, how they can make more money without losing their clients? Because that's like a biggest fear. Like I remember when I was like 6 months in, you can go back January 2017, I documented everything. Like I remember specifically, oh my God, if I charge more than $1,000, everyone's going to leave me. Right?
Right.
But you don't know the other side, right? You don't know that it's
Totally
the opposite. Now they can get better results. So what were your thoughts and feelings and ideas like on that process? Like, can you speak to this like bullet point, like how you doubled your fees without losing your clients, your customers, all that stuff?
That's super clear. And so like one of the things you're just mentioning, I call that a poverty mindset. And so that's something that you have to overcome when you start moving into the area of wealth, right? And so once you start kind of moving past like your small mom and pop, like it's going to get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, and then start stepping into big level, corporate accounts, requires a shift in your mindset, right? So I used to believe, I can remember when I started the brand, I would like hold on to every client because I like had this fear that like there wouldn't be another client that needed a website, but like everybody in the world needs a website, right? So it's like, I can specifically remember that though, that mindset of like fear and poverty that you would have to hold on to, there's only like a certain limit, or maybe a better word is lack. Like there's only a limited amount of people that need this, but there are so many people that need, whether it's Facebook ads, social media marketing, SEO, web design, right? There's so many people that need that. But I can remember the very specific moment when it was really more like tripling, where we tripled our income. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, one of the things that we tripled in size for 2 years in a row. So we went from like doing 300,000 a year to like 680,000. Then we hit 1 million. And then we were kind of like, but I can remember very specifically, one of the things that I've always been good at is essentially what we're doing right now, like mentorship, like learning from other people, right? And so I was in this place, I was like, I feel like this business is about to triple, but I had no clue how to do it.
Right.
So what did I do? I went online. I found other agencies in Austin that were doing what I wanted to be doing, right? So I vision casted where I wanted to be. And then I started trolling those guys on LinkedIn. So I would, hit them up and say, hey, I would love to just buy you lunch, buy you coffee. Can you make some time out of your day to meet with me so I can understand how you do what you do? They'll tell you wisdom and nuggets, things that would take you years to learn that now can just be given, right? So I met with the guy who owns another agency in Austin, and for some strange reason, he was so generous that he actually gave me his proposal template. So how he puts together proposals. And at that time he was working for like Gatorade, and these are the types of clients that he was bringing in, like major clients. And he gave me this whole template about how to put this package together to sell your product, and to, be able to, for those larger clients to trust you. And literally within, I can't remember exactly, but 2 months maybe, we went from selling $5,000 to $7,000 websites, and I got my first 20K deal. And then it was like 20, 30, 30, 30, 30, 40, 30. And it was just like that. It just completely shifted from small to larger clients.
That is absolutely insane. So like the difference between landing 2 to 3K website deals, which honestly is where I was. And like I realized like Facebook ads was like a better fit for me. So like the difference between a 2 to 3K website deal and a 20, 30K website deal is like that mentorship and really like that communication of value through that proposal. And what was really interesting is like when I started my Facebook ads, I was at $1,000 a month, steadily climbed to 2,900, and I'm now on my 5th 10K deal, which is insane for me, right? But there's no way in hell that like my brain could have gone from 2,900 to 10K unless I had somebody like pulling me up and like pulling me out, like almost like angry at me the whole time, like, Jeff, just put 10,000 on the proposal, just put 10,000. Right. No, every part of my brain says you can't do it, and you can't let yourself stop you. You have to find something more important. And so I think that's really cool, and that's what you did. I like how like you're paying it forward to the universe and having this conversation with people watching this, because very often they forget. Like you're sitting behind a screen, right? And you're talking to yourself, and then a customer comes in. That type of idea. And so,
Totally. I mean, listen, I'll be real with you. Like, I can sit here and say everything was rainbows and butterflies creating this agency, but there was some hard ass work that I put into this. Like, what I'm wanting to do in terms of helping people, like with the process and proposal templates and all the documentation of that. I mean, that shit costed me a nervous breakdown and a lawsuit. And I mean, seriously, like that's what it took for me to learn that, like all those things. So like, it's cool to be able to like impart that wisdom onto somebody who's wanting to start. So they're not having to struggle as much as I had to struggle, and they're able to get the proposal template immediately and understand this. Okay, so this is an absolute core to any business. There's three aspects to any business. It's people, process, and product. And to break that down real quick, you have to have talented people to create the product, okay? But the biggest overlooked area, at least for me, until I was several years in, was the process. So because I'm naturally smart, I would just do it. I would wing it and make it happen. But it would cause so many issues. You forget one thing, or a timeline's messed up, or nothing systematized, or things like that. So we spent 3 months, my team and we were going through creating such an in-depth process that literally broke down everything from the first touch point, like when the client calls or emails, the questions that we ask them throughout the whole entire process, all the way through post-launch. It literally broke down. You onboard them into this, you onboard them into this, you onboard them into that. Here's your document, here's your document, here's your document. And it took them through the entire process. That's something that I'll be sharing in the coming months, is that sort of documentation and the tools that we use, the process that we've created. But you have to have that process. I mean, having that process is going to relieve so much stress and anxiety from you, like you wouldn't believe it. Because when you're trying to wing it on your own, you feel like you're responsible for everything. But when you can put a process together that you simply just have to follow this and then show up with your charisma and your energy and everything that you have, right, to make it happen, it makes everything so much better. And honestly, you can't do, $100, $200, $300, $400,000 websites without that level of strategy.
Wait, there are $100,000 websites?
Oh yeah, I did a $220,000 website. I just bid out a $400,000 website.
Oh my God.
I'm talking WordPress.
That's insane.
$200,000 WordPress site.
Holy crap.
Yeah. But you know what makes a difference?
Yeah.
Here's the difference. This is one of the things that I learned the hard way. I used to think a client would come to me and they ask me, say, hey, can you build a website for me? They're actually not asking me at all to build a website. Mm-hmm. And so that was a mindset that had to shift. I'm actually not just producing a website for them. What am I doing? Okay, so then this is where you look at your value proposition. What am I actually doing for this person? Yeah. Well, I'm actually creating a strategic, customer-centric digital brand presence for them. And the website's just the finished product. Yeah. So that's when I learned how to do very in-depth strategy, research and discovery, competitive analysis, looking at the audience segments and seeing who are the types of visitors we expect landing on this website. How can we craft this new web presence around the visitors? We switched to something called content first. So in the past, we would do like 3 mock-up designs and then use lorem ipsum text, and the client would fill in the copy later. And so we don't do that at all now. We're totally strategic. And so, I mean, I always think of like Apple, right? Like an Apple product. Like those guys didn't wing that to just create that, right? There was like thought and strategy in that. And it's the same with the website. You have to know who your audience is. So who are you going to be reaching with this website? Is it C-suite executives? Is it engineers? Is it teachers, right? Who is it that you're reaching? And then once you know that, you can craft your value proposition for each one of the audiences, and then craft a user journey for the audiences. But we switched to content first, essentially meaning we were capturing all the content based upon the sitemap and the structure that we're anticipating for the new website before we would ever touch design. So that's totally opposite from what most people think, right? They're like, oh, we're doing the design and then we're going to develop it. But like, that was the last thing that we did. And that shift, like when I sell a website of this size, I'm not selling the design. Right. I mean, I'm pretty much like, look at our portfolio, that's self-explanatory. Like we've worked with Universal Music Group, we've worked with Fortune 250 companies like Waste Management, other clients, you know, we're doing a website for Universal Movies. Like, look at the design. Like, I'm not having to sell design. I'm selling the process, right, the strategy, the research, all the things that we're going to do to make sure that they have a badass project that works, that doesn't just look good, that it works for their business and meets all their goals.
So you're saying the difference between people who are like stuck at like the just barely surviving agency level and the people like making it all the way up here is really like when someone comes in and says, I want to buy Facebook ads or website or X product, very often they don't really want that. They want the results from it. It's you to figure it out, right? And that's what climbs that value chain. And between using like your value ladder, your proposal, your past experience, I guess you're finding it easier and easier now to land bigger deals because you're doing that whole step. And I think what's like really, really cool is part of the stuff that I teach inside of like the course side, and I have a course, Inner Circle, blah, 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 there's the plug, is that I teach like you have to have like the steps on the board, like your process. And I thought was so cool is like you were mentioning customer research, which is what I talk about, right? And I was talking about the 7 steps of high-performing campaign. Facebook ads is just one part of that, right? So if all you have is one of those 7 steps, I mean, if you fail 6 out of 7 exams, you're going to fail your class, right?
Yeah.
And so like part of the journey that like I'm using the term like Facebook ads guy to CMOO, right? So like the CMO talks about like strategy and customers and solves problems.
Yeah.
Facebook ads guy is just a grease monkey. So it's like, it blows my mind, to be honest. Like somebody like halfway across the United States, like talking about the same exact thing. I think that's like super cool.
It's global.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely insane. Was there like a particular course or mentor that you like want to give like mad credit to? But like, it was this book that helped me get from A to B or anything like that?
Yeah, dude, there is a book that will change your life. It's called Design as a Job.
Yeah.
And it's specifically written by an agency owner in San Francisco who's a very well-known, well-respected public speaker. And it's specifically written to agency owners. And it breaks down so many things of how you sell the design and how you, I mean, he even has a pre-sales checklist he'll give you. Like a pre-sales, you know, what are you doing, right? So I would totally recommend that book for anybody wanting to go into the agency world. And yeah, I'll give a shout out to a guy named Ricardo. He owns Fahrenheit Marketing here in Austin. He's the one that helped me kind of go to the next level. And to be honest, he didn't do a lot, but he gave me that proposal document, and then I took it and ran, right? Sure. So, but that little seed that he gave me, and I could have got that other ways, but I didn't even know that's what I was missing.
Right.
Right? You don't know what you don't know. And that's the same thing when a client comes to me asking for a website. You have to take a step back, and that's all in our sales process. It's literally, you're asking a lot of questions. It's a series of questions you ask them. You're not having to sell like, yeah, we're the best, we do these designs. It's like, step back, start asking them all these questions. People love to talk about themselves.
Yep.
Right? So, but when you can take it a step back and say, hey, where's your marketing goals? How long have you been with the company? Where do you see the company going in a year? Yes. You know, all these strategic questions. And you can say, oh, wait, actually, you need a rebrand. Like you need to get a new logo and your core values and your mission statement, your value proposition, your voice and tone. That all needs to change because it's not relevant to where you're going at all.
Right.
So we take a step back and then we can build them a strategic package based upon what they actually need. Now, some people will have the budget and some people won't, right? Depending on the client. But I look at myself as a consultant, and it's my job to tell them what they don't know and to help them be positioned to be as successful as possible.
That's absolutely crazy awesome. What was the name of the book? It was like Design Itself?
Design is a Job.
Design is a Job. Very, very.
Yes. And I'll do a quick shout out. Design is a Job, and that is by, one second, Facebook World.
And anybody watching?
Yeah, that's by Mike Montero, Monteiro. Design is a Job. That book will change your life. I remember reading that back on the airplane coming back from San Francisco from a big client pitch. And actually, right after I read that book is when I sold my first $100,000 website to the University of Texas. Yeah. So
There's so much money in the world. Like this is another phase that I just went through. It's like when you're first starting out, you're like, it's mine. Nobody touch it, right?
yes.
Like only I can do that. And it's taken like specific people to like pull me out of that and say, no, it's really about like communicating your value statements, your brand, and sharing to the world and like getting the result. And it blows my mind that there are some people that like hold on to that so much that they lose on those $100,000 opportunities. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to speak for you, but like I don't know if like in your journey, if you kept that like to yourself, you would even have a chance at landing $100,000 website or $400,000 website. And so I think it's like super cool. For everybody that's watching this, now's the time to ask questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. Darryl Stevens is on. He's talking about how he doubled his fees or tripled it, made it 3 times as much money without losing a single job, a client, or prospect. How he went from 0 to 180K in a year. Guys, if all you had was that part of the interview, it would be worth it alone. And ultimately how he ended up selling his web design company for $1 million cash, which again is all you did. That'd be like blowing your mind. So now's the time to ask questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas. But before we go into that, we'll let them stack up. I mentioned in the bullet points, there's like 3 secrets to going from 180K in your first 12 months. And that's usually like the make it or break it for human beings. Like they can like scrimp and save and live rough, stuff like that. But after like the year mark, they're looking back and saying, you know, what am I doing with my life? So do you have any like thoughts and feelings and ideas or hints or tips or expert secrets on those like 3 themes to help someone go from 180K?
I've got many of those. Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, what you're talking about right now is mindsets, right? Yep. So if, you know, I think there's a culture, especially some countries other than more than others, but of lack and not feeling like there's enough to go around or that I'm not going to be provided for. I'm going to be on the street or whatever. But once we can begin to change and shift that mindset, and honestly, guys, a lot of that stuff can come through meditation and through personal development. I'm a big proponent of that. I mean, shit, I own meditations.com, but I haven't built it yet. But I mean, I'm very big on that because you're manifesting what you're putting out there into the universe, right? And so that to me is super incredible. But so I do have 3 expert secrets I wanted to share with you guys today. And so the first one is, and I almost hate to say this, but fake it till you make it. And what I mean by that is I'm very big on core values, like essentially like you have to be honest and you have to be integrous and you have to be a good person because it will bite you in the ass. Like I've sold a lot of projects, which is a little white lie, maybe a little bit out of this, right? And it will bite you in the ass, I promise you. So, but you have to position yourself digitally as to where you want to be. And let me break down what I mean by that. Let's say you're brand new, you're green, and you're wanting to start a web design agency. You don't want to build a website and a logo and a brand that's like a mom and pop agency. You want to position yourself right outside of the gate like you are a multi-million-dollar web agency. So you're going to build a website, a logo, business cards, everything that makes you look much bigger than you are. That's honest. I mean, that's just more design aesthetics and strategy. It's not like you're lying to people, but you have to position your website like you are this big, beautiful brand who creates great work, because that's what the larger paying clients are going to look for. I mean, these people are wise. Like they can discern somebody who's like low level or mid level right away. And I mean, you'll actually lose bids for larger paying contracts. So it's fascinating. So I always tell clients, you know, I live in Texas. Texas is a bit of a like, pull yourself up by the bootstraps and make it happen, and then think about it on the backside, right? But I always say, like, you want to make your website make you appear so much bigger. And just to give you a practical example of that, let's say you're a one-man show and you outsource everything to Ukraine, right? Make your About Us page either no bios, no images of people, so they don't know actually how many people are working for you, or build strategic. This is what I've done, is I would build strategic relationships with commission-only talented people, like a CMO, a COO, a CTO, people who I could reach out to and bring them into the project when needed. But then you can use their image and bio on the website. So somebody sees that website and they're like, wow, they've got this CTO that's worked on Dell and, you know, HP and Oracle and, you know, all these sort of projects, and it makes you look so much better than you are. But you have to, the flip side of that is nobody's perfect. We're all on a journey. You're going to learn, you're going to screw up, but you have to be able to have a process in place where you can deliver on the work you're promising people.
I think
that's the flip side.
Mention the idea of like CMO, CTO, COO for hire. Like that's like, I never, honestly, like I never thought of it like that. You can have somebody on your bench that you're only pulling in once every like, you know, 3.5 weeks. And that's totally kosher to be like, you know, our senior vice president of development right there, or something like that, or commission only salesperson right there. So it's part of like the journey. So I think that's super interesting. We have a couple comments, a couple questions. It's kosher, we can go into that.
Yeah.
Let's take a look, guys. Drop comments and things like that. We got somebody saying, so are you seeking high-end clients from LinkedIn and you self-process strategies to position them as an expert, or is it a different way you're actively client seeking and things like that?
So in terms of, I see that question here. Is that in terms of, you think, like how the leads coming in?
I think that's where you're trying to find new business, right? You're like, I want to like get a find a customer, and you really want to get one of those like 100K, right?
Yeah. So
what is that process like? Was it during like outbound lead generation, things like that?
Yeah. So that's actually one of my points in the expert secrets here. But
perfect.
So our agency has never done outbound sales work, and so that's particularly in the fact that we, you know, worked hard enough on our SEO to get rankings. But I'm going to tell you a quick secret. Here's a secret. Once you build your digital presence, once you have your rock star stellar website that's going to position you to attract those type of clients, what you need to do is get yourself visible. And there's really two ways to become visible for an agency. Number one is digital leads, and number two is referrals or word of mouth. So if you love public speaking, go take some shots at that. You'll probably get a lot of referrals. There's ways to do that. That was never me. I was more of like, hey, I want the digital leads coming in. Right. So I will tell you that there are lists out there that are, and I'm not going to disclose them yet, but that are like, you know, top website design agencies, best website design agencies in the world, in US, in the city, state, and zip, right? Building partnerships with those lists, getting the reviews, everything that you need to appear on those lists, and normally, unfortunately, paying them X amount of money per month to appear on the best web design list will bring you the type of clients that you're looking for. Being on those lists will nationally bring in clients that you never could have thought you worked with. That's how I landed Universal Music Group, Universal Movies. We're building like a Redbox type of site to stream Universal's movies for them. And that was coming through lists. So what we did, quick secret, we would choose our target markets. So like for us, we wanted to be in Texas and California. So we're Dallas, Houston, Austin, right, and then Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. So I set up like WeWork styled virtual offices, which would get mail. And so I set up WeWork through all of those cities. And then I set up Google Places in all of those cities. And then we put those as locations on our locations page. Right. It's not dishonest because I have a WeWork license that I can use any of their locations. I can go to LA and sit down and meet with the client at the WeWork LA, you know, and have a meeting room and everything. So those are like satellite offices, but because you do that strategy, you can then put yourself on those lists in other cities. And so you're just 10xing, 3xing, 5xing the lead gen you're getting because you're not limited to one geographic location. And that's relevant for anybody, whether you're in a small town or out in the suburbs, or whether you're in like a smoking hot tech metropolis like Austin, right? I mean, you're still limited by the people that can find you.
I have never in my like wildest dreams ever thought of doing this easiest not way of setting up satellite offices. Like that is so stupidly smart. And that just works out perfectly because it's like, why would you spend $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 a month on setting up an office? You can just rent one, to be honest. It operates as an office, and you know what? Great, you want to meet? I'll send somebody over. What's the difference?
Exactly. We fly them out if it's a big enough project, and you meet. You know, we've done that multiple times. I mean, you know, I've had 4 different offices over the past 7 years of being in business. Then I just got to the place where I was like, this is actually not my personality. Like, my personality is very much free and want to travel and explore. And like the thought of going to an office every day and being constricted to having to do that 9 to 5. And on top of that, as the agency owner, me then managing all the employees there 9 to 5, I was like, that's actually not who I am as a person.
That's the opposite of what I want.
Yeah, it's like not resonating. Like, I didn't create a company to become a slave to the company that I created so I could have freedom, right? So we switched to a completely remote model. And a lot of big companies are doing that, like Envision. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but there's a lot of companies, they're all remote, you know, and then we'll meet once or twice a week in person and collaborate. But the rest we do through video chat and Zoom and Slack and all the other tools that we have. And we collaborate that way. And I don't have to pay office expenses and rent and utilities and all this necessary overhead. I don't like overhead. I've never liked overhead, right? So I've been bootstrapped from day one, right? So how can you bootstrap this thing and blow it up? And that's one way. Yeah, it's a clever thing that I thought of that's paid dividends.
That's so cool. We got another question. Somebody says, how do you go about finding those CTOs, CEOs, senior vice presidents of X that you really only want to pull from the bench for like 2-3 weeks or per project at a time? Is there a way like actively finding those people, or is it more like you go on that journey, you document, and once the student is good enough, the mentor shows up?
Dude, I love that.
Right.
Honestly, the second is the way it's happened for me. Because people have kind of fell into my lap. You know, my CMO is a guy named Dan Ben Nunn, who used to be the chief marketing officer for Marcus Lemonis. And I don't know if you know that, but that's the TV show The Prophet, right?
Yep.
He ran all of Marcus's businesses. He was like the head guy for all of his businesses. And the guy just called me out of the blue one day. He quit that and started his own agency, and he had a project for watches.com. Right. And he called me out. I mean, it was a big project. He called me out of the blue, and you know, he's like, I'm working on this watches.com project. Can you help me out on this? And that just started a relationship with us. And you know, and then he became our outsourced CMO. So, but there are also strategic ways to do that. So I don't want to like leave people thinking like they're just up to the timing of the universe that brings them into alignment. You know, LinkedIn is such a great way to find people. Meetup groups, you know, trolling those sort of channels, looking on LinkedIn and finding people who are freelancers or consultants, and even websites like Upwork. Upwork.com. I mean, you can find so much talent and people that will operate in those capacities on there. And when all else fails, when you have mentors that are in this business, ask them. Yep. I can't tell you how many relationships have been started because I asked. I was like in a pinch, right? Like I needed a senior developer for some complex ASP.NET project, and I didn't have it. I hadn't even done that before. So I go to my mentor. Who are you using for this? He's still on the journey of figuring it out. And there's people way ahead of me. There's people managing $100 million web agencies, right? There's some in Austin. But those are 3 different pathways to find those sort of people.
So the coolest part is I think I've actually been on the receiving end of the CMOO, right? Like Chief Marketing Officer outsource. So like I've got this like little room and all that stuff, and like my car wash guy comes in and uses the office. I'm like, great, fine, perfect. You're paying me too much. It's no big deal. And he's like, Jeff, I've got an investor's pitch. You in? I was like, hell yeah, let's figure it out. So he spent like 4 days doing all the blah, blah, blah. They come in, we record it. And the investor's like, not great, but good enough for money. And I was like, we did it. And I had no idea this guy was doing what you're exactly talking about, which is like turning me into CMOO. And then he tells me, he's like, man, you're like my chief marketing officer outsourced. I was like, you got it. Now it's like a thing that, you know what I mean? But I'm not on his website, but I think it's like super cool that like you don't have to rely on, let's say, like the universe solely, right? Like you can proactively create that by going to like meetups, asking your mentors, asking your mentees, asking like your circle of influence. And like, it's not uncomfortable to say like, hey, I need help with this. You want to like, you know, jump in here, and more people than not will say yes. So I think that's super cool. We have another question from Patrick Dury. Patrick says, when are we going to see that proposal? So I don't know if you're comfortable sharing that. I think that's like later on, right?
Definitely not sharing that yet. You know, I'm going to be working on putting together a course that is specifically tailored for this, and really helping guide people through the entire step. Essentially, what I'm going to be doing is imparting all my wisdom.
Yep.
So there's going to be a course, and as part of being a part of that course, you're going to get access to the very detailed the project, all of the timeline and the proposal. So you get access to the proposal. You'll get access to the process. That's the word I was looking for.
Gotcha.
So
yeah.
you'll get access to the actual tangible process that I use on a day-to-day basis to work and win and retain those type of leads. And you'll get access to the proposal that you can change to meet your own needs. So that'll all be part of the course. And I mean, I tell people, God, that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars alone. I've got a guy I mentor in Austin. When he first came to me, he was literally making 20-something thousand a year on he was a web agency just like me, yeah. But he was making like 20K a year. You know, he was struggling. And believe it or not, this fucker, he's now right below me on Google.
He's number 4. What the hell, man? It's too close.
He's like number 4, and I taught him all that. And you know what? How much money he's making now? $600,000 this year.
Yep.
Because I was able to impart to him all that wisdom. So that's going to be coming. So guys, just stay tuned for that. If you're in the agency world, want to create a web agency, a lot of money in this world, and yeah, it'll be coming.
Super exciting. That's super cool. For everybody watching this, there's about 50 people in the live. We are kind of coming to like the last leg of this, and we're going to announce the strategy sessions coming up. So if you have any last minute questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, ideas, things you want to ask him specifically, now's the time, because he's literally like booked solid for another 3 weeks. And he's building out his entire like project. He's selling his agency. Like now's the time. That's Darryl Stevens, who's literally gone from 0 to 100K in his first year. And then selling his agency for $1 million cash, which is essentially like what everybody here wants to do, right? So one question that came in says, how do you go about building your team and finding the right staff if you have one? Are you relying solely on those like benched employees, or do you've got people like India and things like that?
Yeah, no, you've got to have a core foundation of like employees that are full-time for you, right? So for me, honestly, like we do $1 million in revenue with me, a senior project manager, and a senior UI UX designer, and that's it. And then we have an outsourced team for development in the Ukraine, and we have all these different, you know, CMOO, CTOO sort of positions that people fill in as needed. But again, I'm a guy who's all about bootstrap, low overhead, agile, flexible, right? So, you know, those online tools like Upwork, and there's many different tools now. Those are great assets for finding partners, especially international. If you just need like a solid development team, like you can read their reviews and see their past work, and that's how we found all of our development agencies. And we've got some talent on the dev side, and we found them through that channel, actually that specific website, to be honest.
So you're saying that there's actual like development teams or shops of people that like 3, 4, 5 already that can build something that you can then like white label and sell, or at least like will get you on that journey, kind of like, you know, when you're trying to buy parts for a car, there's mechanics that do that type of thing. Like you don't have to find separate individuals and force them to work together. I guess that's what I'm hinting at, right?
Yeah, doesn't that sound stressful thinking about that?
Yeah, like I don't like it at all.
You know, you just think about that, you're like, oh.
No, like people are fun if I don't have to tell them what to do.
Right, then you have to manage them. And then what happens is you're working in your business and you're not working on your business.
Yep.
In an ideal world, you always want to be working on your business and not in it. If you're in it, you're in the weeds, and it's not where you want to be. Now, let's be realistic. Sometimes that's going to happen, right?
Yep.
But you want to be able to work on it and then get the project managers and the designers and things like that to surround you. I always say surround yourself with people smarter than you, more talented than you. So you don't have to be responsible for everything. You know, my designer is incredible, and he, you know, if I'm in a pinch, he can run it. He can run a strategy session, strategy meeting, branding workshops. Like I don't even have to be involved on that. So you need your core team, definitely. So, but it's just about where you're at in the stage of evolution, you know, what sort of budget that you have to hire that team.
Yep.
and kind of just where you're at. You know, everybody's coming in at a different level, right? So, but I always like to say, stay as small as you can, lean, right? A lot of entrepreneurs talk about being lean, but you want to be lean. That way you can be agile and sort of pivot. And I've just, listen, the market is changing.
Yep.
The world is changing. We are going away from big box stores and big box chains and big box agencies to freelance. I mean, I was driving yesterday in Austin. I saw a billboard that was like, are you a freelancer? Like, here's health insurance for, you know, it's like, it's that big of a deal. So these models don't scare clients anymore. Like when I first started, I remember I used to be scared, like, oh no, they're going to find out I developed my website in the Ukraine and they're not going to do business with us. Be transparent with them. We have an incredible team in the Ukraine that does all of our development that has worked for all these Fortune 250 clients we've worked for. And they're, oh, okay. You know, and so like, just answer your question though, our development team in the Ukraine, they're about 30 people.
Wow.
So what's amazing about it is I only pay them when I have a project.
Right.
And they have a developer to code in any language that I need. And they have a CTO and all that. So I just go to them. They put together everything I need. And so it's the one-stop shop for development. And so we're essentially, if I could word it differently, we are a design agency, really. Right. We do deliver a final developed a product, and it's beautiful. But really what we're doing is we're a research and strategy design agency.
That's been like the coolest part, I think, of like the transition that agency owners have to make. Like they always start off with a product. That's how your brain works. Fine, build a website. I get it.
Totally.
But once you start moving up that value chain, you realize you're really more like the strategy, the application. Should we be doing this, doing something else, and making decisions instead of taking orders. And I think that was one of like the key points I'm so glad you brought up in like my own journey. Like my first 3 months of Facebook ads sucked, right? Because I was like, buy my Facebook ads. Facebook ads are great. Let's do it. Like, it's the same way with websites. You can't like push websites, and if you do, like your dollars are low. But once you realize that, you start talking about like customer opportunities, and you start talking about like lead sales ROI, what's your goal? What are you trying to accomplish? And the best path to do that. All of a sudden they're like, I don't care if you subcontract out. Like my general contractor does that all the time. Just get me the result that we agreed on. Totally. And they're usually more than happy to talk about. But here's what's cool. Our last comment is a guy from Claudio. It says, man, I love it. I need your help. He plateaued at 160K. He's got the team, servers, website, #1 experience. He says he needs clients and he needs a different angle. And he says he's all ears. So Claudio, great news. We're doing strategy sessions. So if you think Darryl Stevens has helped unlock or uncover, help figure out the next step, if talking and having a 15-minute strategy session with Darryl Stevens is going to take you to version 2 or 3 or 4 of where you are with your agency in terms of dollars, sales, leads, ROI, just leave a comment saying Darryl help me out. That's DARRYL help me out. And we're going to pick 3 people to have a specific one-on-one 15 to 30-minute strategy session with Darryl. You guys will get a group chat. You can like figure out the time and all that. You guys are going to record it. He's going to answer any questions in more detail. And ultimately going to put you in position to like really take you to the next step. We've got David Stack, Jesse Estrada, and Aaron Schofield, which is super cool. And if you guys are interested in having a further conversation with Darryl, I know that he's going to be launching a course that kind of like unveils all those expert secrets on his journey from 0 to 180K and 180K to $1 million. So if that's something that you guys want, I want you to put #proposal. And then when Darryl is like ready to launch, he's going to reach out and you guys are going to like be part of his beta group, his launch group, and Facebook group and things like that. So type Darryl help me out. We've already got the 3 15-minute strategy sessions. And if you want Darryl to reach out and figure out the next steps when he's ready to communicate to the world to like his expert secrets, just do #proposal, and then he'll reach out and get you guys together and ultimately figure out how you can go from 0 to $1 million in cash, just like Darryl did, which I think is super cool.
It's a good feeling. I'll tell you that much. It's a good feeling.
It's that FU money that everybody wants, right?
That it's a really good feeling. I got a baby coming up, you know, and to have that in my in that nest egg is it's money doesn't make you happy, but it will definitely ease the journey.
That's super awesome. Is there any last thoughts, ideas that Darryl you think people watching this? You're getting a lot of #proposals, a lot of help me outs. Is there anything that you think somebody watching this journey or watching this video and is on this journey, like they're just starting out, they're building website ads, they got to feed their family, they're just off the streets. Is there something that you want to like hint, tip, expert secret to shrink their learning curve Is it like work really hard and hustle? Is it get your mind right? Is it like build it like it's worth $1 million? What are you thinking?
So yeah, I got a couple things. Number one, what you just said is an entrepreneurial lie that I hate, and that is work, 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 never sleep, sleep when you're dead. You know, how many times do you see that in all the entrepreneur courses and things like that? Do you know what that leads to? You know what that leads to? Realistically, that leads to burnout, nervous breakdowns, depression, broken families, all of that. Like, that's not true. You do have to work hard, but you need to have boundaries. And that's, you know, you just learn that throughout the process. You definitely work hard. I mean, I work my butt off, but it's not like that anymore. It's not 10 shots of espresso and whatever else, just to power through the day. But what I wanted to say that I think is really, really important, and that is for any person running an agency, is to do and learn to do what they're actually selling. And so what I mean by that is, if you're selling SEO, learn how to do SEO on your own before you sell it. They always say you can only give away what you have, right? And so if you've never grown an agency to $1 million, I'm not going to be able to help you grow your agency to $1 million because I've never done it, right? So if you want to sell SEO, if you want to sell pay-per-click, if you want to do website design at this level, teach yourself, or, you know, take online tutorials or whatever, how to do it first, and then you can outsource it. But knowing how to actually create the successful product on your own is going to tremendously alleviate stress and help you out when you're working with the client and an issue comes up. It's not like you're flying blind. You actually have done this work yourself. You understand it, and then you can sell it with confidence. Because you actually have been in the weeds before, even if it's for a short period of time. And you don't have to be the highest level subject matter expert in this, but you want to understand fundamentally what it is that you're selling. Like for me, I can sell SEO like that because I was the one that got us ranked up, you know, for all the keywords. I learned that and did that myself. So it's like second nature. But definitely learn at least fundamentally every service that you're going to be selling, and that's going to tremendously help you.
That's super awesome. Darryl, don't hang up, but I'm super psyched that you got you on the line. Jamie Eldras referred us together, and I think you're a super cool individual. I'm super psyched about your journey. I'm super psyched about phase 3 of Darryl, and more importantly, everybody that hashtag proposal and strategy sessions is going to help get leveled up, even though they didn't know how, and you're going to help pull them up just like somebody helped pull you up. So that's it for the presentation. Thanks so much, everybody. Darryl, don't hang up. And I'll see you guys next time. I don't have a signing off phase, so
we'll have it next time soon. But
all right, bye.